morning, guys. How is everybody today? I hope everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You guys will not believe what I just did. Travis, go into the laundry room to get him a shirt. He goes, "You aren't live streaming yet, are you?" I was like, "Nope." So I look up at the computer and I was like, "Oh, but I should be." I'm sitting here. I'm scrolling on my phone. I'm watching videos about ADHD. Meanwhile, I'm listening to a trial on this monitor. I have this monitor set up, ready to go with the live stream. And I looked up, I was like, oh, it's 8:03. Travis goes, yeah, I think you have ADHD. Yeah, I really think I need to talk to my doctor about this. Oh my gosh, I can't stop laughing. Ah! Ah! Oh my gosh. Okay. Ah. So, Judy dropped some knowledge again. Phil Spector's honors include the 1973 Grammy Award for Album of the Year, a 1989 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and a 1997 induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Phil Spector emerged briefly for a cameo as himself in an episode of I Dream of Jeannie and as a drug dealer in the film Easy Rider. I don't think I've seen Easy Rider, and I think I've pretty much seen every episode of I Dream of Jeannie, but I probably, back then I was a kid, so I probably didn't even know who Phil Spector was. But I did a post the other day. Jill sent me a link to a video. The Casual Criminal List did a video on Phil Spector. It was super interesting. He did way more than I thought he did. He actually had a band. Like, he himself had number one singles. I thought he was just a music producer. I didn't realize. And you guys remember we were talking about, hey Terry, remember we were talking about the car accident? And I said, like, the head injury from the car accident could have been what made him so strange. No, he was that way already. He was doing the gun thing way before the head injury. And poor Ronnie Spector, I really want to read her memoir now. He would hide her shoes so she couldn't leave the house. What else did he do? I forgot what else he did. Oh. He thought she was going to leave him. So, and I don't know how this was legal. He adopted twins without her knowledge and presented them to her as a present so she wouldn't leave him. Who does that? Oh my God, this man was a weirdo. Oh my God. So, okay, so last week we watched Vincent Tenazzo, who was Joan Rivers' security, and it was outside the presence of the jury, but I guess they were trying to get a hold of him to testify and they couldn't find him, so it was in the middle of the trial he finally got a hold of him. So the judge is going to let, I guess the prosecution never rested, from what I understand, because I watched the very, very beginning of it because I was like, how are they letting him testify after the prosecution rested? And Judge Fiddler actually says that the prosecution never rested, but they had more witnesses that weren't available, so they went ahead and let the defense start. So we're going to hear his testimony, and then because court doesn't start till 10 today, we'll get to another witness, and I don't know if he's defense or prosecution. He's a paramedic. So that will be today for Phil. And I already have the redirect set up for Karen Reed. So look at me doing things right today, y'all. I miss you guys over the weekend. I was so bored.
Alternates are now present. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your indulgence. When you left, whenever it was over a week ago, we became aware that we were going to need a hearing outside of your presence, and we could not tell you to come in late. Been doing that there were one or more witnesses that might be called, and that we would start with the defense. The people are now calling one of those witnesses, and this is part of the people's case. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. We call Vince Tenazzo.
Please raise your right hand to be sworn. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Would you state and spell your name for the record, please?
Vincent Tenazzo, T as in Thomas, Annazzo.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Tenazzo.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming.
Good morning.
I think you came from New York City, is that correct?
Yes,
What do you do for a living now, or are you retired?
I'm basically retired.
Did you have a background in law enforcement?
Yes,
Could you tell us about that? When did you start in law enforcement?
in 1966
Where were you employed?
with the New York City Police Department.
And how long were you employed with the New York City Police Department?
About 17 years.
You retired at some point?
Yes.
And why? What happened? Why did you retire?
I received an injury. I was actually hit by a drunk driver, and I was hospitalized for about 6 months, and the police department retired me.
You didn't want to retire, did you?
No.
But you were forced to retire.
Yes.
Could you briefly tell us some of your experiences as a New York Police Department officer? Where were you assigned?
I was assigned, when I first came a police officer, I was assigned in uniform to a regular patrol precinct for about 3 years.
And after that?
I went to the narcotics division. I did about 9 years there, 5 years maybe as an undercover, and 4 years as an investigator.
So you went from being a police officer to a promotion as an investigator or detective?
Yes,
And that's an important promotion in the New York City Police Department, is that correct?
yes. These guys strive to be a detective.
Okay. After being a detective with the narcotics division, did you move on to other assignments as a detective?
Yes,
And what were those?
I was assigned to the intelligence division.
And is that where you ended your career?
Yes,
As a member of the intelligence division, did you supervise other people also?
yes,
During the period of time that you were with the NYPD, did you also serve as security for presidential trips to New York City?
yes.
Could you explain that very briefly?
I was on the security detail for 3 presidents, President Nixon, President Carter, and President Reagan.
And worked with the Secret Service during that.
Yes,
Now, you've told us that you retired, and that year was, again?
1983.
Subsequent to your retirement with the New York City Police Department, did you start your own business?
Yes,
What was that?
I started a security business.
And did you have a license for that?
Yes,
What was that?
private investigator's license issued by the state of New York.
And did that also include the right to carry a firearm? Or is that a separate permit?
It's a separate permit.
And did you also have that?
Yes,
Who was in this business with you, your security business?
my 2 brothers.
Were they also former police officers?
Yes,
Now I'd like to invite your attention to 1989, 1990. Did you have a celebrity client that took a lot of time for that business?
Yes.
And who was that person?
Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers, the celebrity.
Yes.
At the time that you worked for Joan Rivers, did you come to know her manager?
Yes.
And what was her manager's name?
Dorothy Melvin.
Dorothy Melvin?
Yes.
Did you work closely with her?
Yes.
While you were working with Joan Rivers, what kind of security did you provide for her? Just generally, day-to-day basis.
Basically, I was an armed escort, and I would go with her when she made public appearances or if she was performing live in front of an audience. And for about 5 years, we were up at CBS. She had a talk show where we screened the audiences, put them through metal detectors, and just basically provided her with security.
For that TV show and for her own personal security?
Yes.
And during that period of time, or perhaps just afterwards, did she also have some type of Broadway show that you had to provide security for?
Yes.
And briefly explain that.
She was performing in the Helen Hayes Theater on Broadway in Manhattan. She was doing a one-woman show called Sally Mars and Her Escort. And from the TV show, we used to go to the Helen Hayes Theater and wait till 8 o'clock till she went on stage. And at 10 o'clock when she was finished, I would escort her home.
Long days.
Very long, yes.
And it was during that period of time that Dorothy Melvin was also her manager?
Yes.
That you worked with her?
Yes.
Your Honor, can we put up People's One for identification?
Yes.
We have People's One for identification here. Do you recognize really both the people in that photograph, first with the woman?
That's Dorothy Melvin.
The person who was a manager for Joan Rivers when you were working with Joan Rivers.
Correct.
And the other person?
Phil Spector.
Did there come a time when you met Phil Spector?
Yes.
Did Joan Rivers, during the period of time that you worked for her, have Christmas parties?
Yes.
And did you provide security at those Christmas parties?
Yes.
Was there a Christmas party, or perhaps two, that Phil Spector attended?
Yes.
And you identified him here in People's One, correct?
Yes.
Do you see him here in court?
Yes, I do.
Could you tell the judge briefly where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
He's wearing a blue suit and he's sitting between two counselors.
Indicating Mr. Spector for the record.
Thank you. Let's just for a moment talk about what your duties were, what your job was at this Christmas party. Can you tell us briefly what you did?
Yes, I would arrive early to Miss Rivers' residence. I would proceed upstairs and receive a guest list of the people attending that evening's function.
Now, was this an evening party, an afternoon party? About what time?
It was late afternoon. It started around 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Now, we said Christmas party. Were they on Christmas Day or?
The Christmas Day, yes.
So they were given on Christmas Day?
Yes.
And this was in Manhattan somewhere?
Yes.
So you would arrive early, an hour more before the party was to begin?
At least an hour early, yes.
Get the guest list?
Yes.
Why? Why did you need that?
Well, I needed it to know who was attending and who was allowed in and who was not allowed in.
That was part of your responsibility?
Yes.
Were you on guard for party crashers?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because of her notoriety, those parties have a tendency to get out, and there are known people that just actually crash parties.
So you go to Joan Rivers' house, you get the guest list and you review it.
Yes.
And at one of these parties, did you see Phil Spector's name on the guest list?
Yes.
Can you tell us when that was? Do you have a year in mind or a couple of years? Are you sure?
It was in the 90s, 93, 94, could have been a little later, a little earlier. The year wasn't relevant to me for whatever reason.
But do you have a clear recollection of this? And we're going to talk about these two parties, with respect to Phil Spector.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the first of those two Christmas parties in the mid-'90s. Are you comfortable with that time
Yes, sir.
frame? The first of those two parties in the mid-'90s, you got the guest list and you saw Phil Spector's name on it.
Yes,
Did you recognize his name?
yes,
Did you know who he was?
yes,
Had you ever met him before?
no,
Did you told us that Dorothy Melvin was working with you. She was Joan Rivers' general manager. Did you know whether or not she had some relationship with Phil Spector at the time of this first party?
yes.
And what was that?
I believe they were going out together.
Now, you said that you knew the name Phil Spector and you knew of him. Why? How did you know that?
Well, I'm in my 60s and I go back to his music, and I just was a fan of the music. I have, as a matter of fact, a couple of his CDs.
So at the time of this party, you knew who he was, you knew his music, and you were somewhat a fan of his music.
Yes,
Okay. Now, with the guest list that you've reviewed, when the party starts, when the guests start arriving at Joan Rivers' apartment there in Manhattan, what do you do? What's your function? What are you trying to do?
well, I have the guest list, and if I don't recognize who's coming in, I would just stop them and ask for some sort of an identification.
Did there come a time at this first party that Phil Spector, whose name had been on the guest list, actually appeared at the door?
Yes,
And did you need to ask him for ID?
no,
You recognized his face.
yes,
Same man that we saw in People's One and here in court.
yes,
Did you say anything to him, acknowledge him, nod to him?
maybe a nod.
Do you recall whether or not he was with someone else at the time?
Yes,
Who was that? Do you know?
I believe it was a limo driver.
And did he, Phil Spector, or the limo driver have anything with them?
They had a keyboard. The limo driver had a keyboard.
And so you let both of them in?
Yes,
Now, at some point, most or all the guests that were on the list had arrived. Is that right?
yes.
So what do you do then? As the security at Joan Rivers' Christmas party, what were you doing then?
Well, basically what I do is every so often I would go upstairs and just walk around the room, make sure that there wasn't people that were intoxicated or carrying on. And then as a smoker, but as security, I would go outside, have a cigarette, and at that time I would try to find out whose limos were whose parked on the street.
Why? Why would you do that?
Basically, when the guests would leave the apartment, I would escort them out, and if I knew where their car was, I'd take them right to the car.
So after the party had started and most of the guests had arrived, you kind of had a sense of what guests had come with drivers and where their cars were,
Yes,
so that you could assist them as they left the party.
yes,
Now, at this first party, while you were on the first floor, either checking where the cars were or having a cigarette, did you get a phone call?
yes.
And you answered it?
No,
Who answered it?
the doorman answered it at first.
And then was it apparently for you? Did he give you the,
Yes, he said, Vinny, it's for you.
so you picked up the phone? Did you recognize the voice on the other end? Were you sure or not?
Yes, pretty sure, 90% sure.
You were 90% sure of the voice that was talking to you on that phone?
Yeah.
Who was it? Who do you
Dorothy
think it was?
Melvin.
Dorothy Melvin?
Dorothy Melvin.
The woman that we saw in People's One.
Yes,
And the woman that was, to your knowledge, seeing Phil Spector at the time of this first party.
yes,
What did Dorothy, well, let me withdraw that and ask you this. You'd known Dorothy Melvin for a long time at that point through your professional relationship, a number of years.
yes.
Was the voice that you talked to, the person that you thought was Dorothy Melvin, was she calm and collected on that phone when you spoke to her, or did she seem to be upset or agitated?
Objection, Lee. Overruled. He was given choices to pick from.
She was upset.
And what did Dorothy Melvin say to you on the phone in this upset manner?
She said to me, Vinny, get up here.
The objection is overruled, but it will be limited, ladies and gentlemen, to explaining what the witness did after he heard what was said, so you'll not receive it for the truth of the matter asserted. You may proceed.
Thank you. Do you call the question?
Yes.
Okay, could your answer, please?
She said, Vinny, get up here. Phil Spector just pulled out a gun.
What did you do next? I mean, you're the security at the party. What'd you do?
I proceeded to the elevator to go up to Joan Rivers' apartment. And before I got to the elevator, I unholstered my gun and put it in my suit jacket pocket.
So as security at the party that day, you had a weapon with you,
Yes,
which you had a permit to carry.
He didn't have security up in the apartment. I felt like he was downstairs, but he had somebody else up there at the actual party. What the heck? That's kind of weird. Of course, she could have afforded to have a team of security people. I always thought that, like, when he was on the stand, like when we were listening to him last week, I thought that was weird that he was downstairs in the foyer of the apartment building and not up there in the apartment. But then I thought, well, maybe he had like a team of security people because she can afford it, right? But he was the only one and like went back and forth. That's weird. I don't know. Hollywood is weird, so who knows?
yes.
And when you say you unholstered it, what exactly did you do?
I physically removed it from my holster and put it in my suit jacket pocket and held it.
And as you're doing that on the stand, you're actually putting your hand, your right hand into your right suit coat pocket. I'll get my right and left correction. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you do that? Why did you put your gun in your suit pocket?
I just received a call that there was a man with a gun upstairs, and I put my gun in my pocket.
For your own personal safety and for those at the party?
Yes,
So you put your gun in your suit pocket, got on the elevator, is that correct?
yes,
And went upstairs to Joan Rivers' apartment.
yes.
As you got off the elevator, do you walk right into Joan Rivers' apartment or do you have to go someplace?
When you get off the elevator, there's a little foyer, and you can enter, you enter her apartment after you're in the foyer. You have to make a turn and go about 8 feet to a door, which leads into the apartment.
So as you went up the elevator, you got off it at Joan Rivers' floor into the foyer. What happened then?
When the elevator doors opened, I was met there by Phil Spector and Dorothy Melvin.
The Dorothy Melvin that we saw, well, the two people we saw in People's One.
Yes.
What was happening? What was going on when the elevator doors opened and you saw Phil Spector and Dorothy Melvin?
They were having an argument, loud voices.
Both of them speaking in loud voices?
Phil Spector in particular.
And do you recall what Phil Spector was saying at that point?
Yes.
What?
He was saying, these fucking cunts, these fucking cunts.
And Dorothy Melvin was what, trying to calm him down, or what was she doing? Do you recall?
She was trying to calm him down, yes.
And after you heard Phil Spector say those words and saw Dorothy Melvin there, what did you do next? What did you try to do there?
We then, the three of us, myself, Phil Spector, and Dorothy Melvin, got in the elevator and proceeded down to the lobby.
Is this a big elevator or a little elevator?
It's a very small elevator.
Not much bigger than the witness box up there?
Maybe just a little bit bigger, but not much.
Okay. What happened in the elevator from Joan Rivers' floor where her apartment was down to the first floor? I assume that's where you're going first.
Yes.
What happened, if anything?
I was leaning against Phil Spector, and I started to give him a light pat on his mid-waist and body.
Why did you do that?
I was looking for a gun.
Because you'd heard Dorothy Melvin tell you that when you first got the call.
Yes.
As a police officer for 15 or 17 years, I'm sure you've done that many times in the past.
Yes.
There's a way to do it,
Yes.
to try to determine whether or not carrying a weapon. Okay, so you patted him or touched him in some fashion. Please tell us how.
We were standing there, and with my hand, I was just touching him on the sides when I felt a hard object,
And what did you think that hard object was?
a gun.
Why?
When I felt it, and then I put my hand completely on it, and I felt the butt, the hammer, and carrying a gun for almost 40 years, I knew what it felt like.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
And I knew it was a gun.
No doubt in your mind that Phil Spector was carrying some kind of handgun on him.
Overruled based on his prior answer.
No doubt whatsoever.
So after you patted him down, felt what you believed to be a handgun, what else happened in that elevator trip down to the first floor of Joan Rivers' apartment building?
We proceeded down and we got out in the lobby.
Was there any conversation on the elevator between you, Phil Spector, Dorothy Melvin, the defendant?
I believe Dorothy Melvin told me, Vinny.
Objection, hearsay.
Again, the same ruling. It's, ladies and gentlemen, it's not received for the truth of the matter asserted, only to explain this witness's conduct.
Said, Vinny, get him out of here.
So when you reached the first floor of the apartment building, what happened then? What was said and done then?
He was still motherfucking the cunt, this fucking cunt, and we were proceeding to the limo.
How was he saying these words about this, some woman? Was he saying it in a low, calm manner, or was he yelling? Was he ranting? Was he whispering? Characterize how he was saying this.
Reading compound.
Overruled.
It was loud, louder than the average voice, and it was just saying it. This fucking cunt, it just,
Repeatedly?
oh yes. Yes.
More than 5 times?
Every other word was that word.
And Dorothy Melvin said he'd just get him out of here, right?
Yes.
You were the security at the party. What did you do to try to accomplish that?
We proceeded to go towards the front door of the building, and at which time Phil Spector stopped and made a move for the area of his pocket, his waistband.
Now, you told us this a moment ago on the elevator on the way down to the first floor from Joan Rivers' apartment. You patted him down. You believed he had a weapon on.
Yes.
You say he made a move. Did he make a move in the direction of where you felt the firearm?
Yes.
What kind of move? Explain it to us.
His hand was just going back like this,
And
in the direction of his pocket and where the gun was.
with the court's permission, could I ask the witness to stand? Yes. Could you stand and demonstrate what you just showed us there?
He was just walking out, and then he just turned, and I saw his hand going like this.
In the same direction where you felt the weapon?
Yes.
You can have a seat. Thank you. Did that catch your attention?
Absolutely.
Why?
I didn't know what he was going to do.
And as a former police officer, you had your own safety in mind,
Yes.
and that of the people in the lobby, correct?
Yes.
What did you do in response to Phil Spector's move towards the area where you felt that firearm?
I had a very brief conversation with him at that point.
What did you say and what did he say?
I told Phil Spector, if he pulls out that gun, I'll blow his fucking brains out.
And did he respond to that?
Yes.
What did he say?
He began telling me, I'm cool, I love police officers, I love cops, I'm cool, and I just want my keyboard, and we continued out.
Now, when you say you continued out, did you continue out of the apartment building?
Yes.
And you earlier told us that you made this kind of check as to where various guest limos were. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you, in your mind at this time, have an idea where Phil Spector's limo was that he arrived in? You told us you saw the driver.
Yes.
You knew where it was.
This was right in front of the building.
So you took him where?
I took him right to the limo.
What happened as you went to the limo?
Phil Spector got in the back, and I got in with him.
You got into the back of his limo with him?
Yes.
And at that point, what happened? I think you told us earlier that he said, I just want my keyboard.
Yes, I then told the limo driver to go in the building and get his keyboard.
Because he'd come to the party with the keyboard, right?
Yes.
But he didn't have it when he left.
No.
So you and Phil Spector are in the back of his limo, correct?
Yes.
And you've asked the limo driver to go retrieve the keyboard.
Yes.
Did he leave the car to apparently do that?
Yes.
So you and Phil Spector in the back of the limo together.
Yes.
Was there some conversation then, some actions on Phil Spector's part?
Yes.
What happened?
He first, from his, I believe it was his top pocket, he removed a badge.
A badge?
A badge. And he showed me a badge, and he said to me, I love cops. I'm a sheriff from North Carolina.
He's a sheriff from North Carolina?
That's what he told me, yes.
Did you look at the badge? What,
I glanced at it, but I had other things on my mind, to
Right.
be honest with you.
okay, but he told you he was a sheriff from North Carolina and he had a badge and showed that to you. Was there any more conversation about that? What happened?
And then he produced a permit.
A permit?
Yes,
Where'd he get the permit from?
he took it out of his pocket, out of his inside jacket, I think, and he handed me a permit.
What'd you do with that?
I tossed it on the seat of the car.
Did you examine it closely?
No,
So he pulls out a piece of paper and what does he say, if anything?
then he proceeded to tell me, that's why I have permits all over the place. He said, that's why I always have a piece on me.
And what did he say then?
And then he said, that's why I have these permits. I carry a piece, these fucking cunts. And he said, they all deserve a bullet in their fucking heads.
They all deserve a bullet in their head?
Yes,
Phil Spector said that?
yes,
And that was in connection with or at about the same time as he pulled out the gun permit
yes,
and told you that he had gun permits everywhere so he could carry guns everywhere?
yes.
So because all these women deserve bullets in their head.
Yes,
Did he say that just once or did he repeat it?
it was repeated.
How many times? Do you recall?
No, but
2 or
over
3?
and over, at least,
Maybe more, maybe 5? Less
maybe
than
yes.
5? They all deserve bullets in their head.
I'm going to object at this point. That's the answer now. It's just a retell.
Sustain.
At some point, after,
The answer is in. You will move to the next question.
At some point after the conversation with respect to the gun permit and the sheriff's badge, did the limo driver for Phil Spector's car return?
Yes,
Did he?
That is something you're not allowed to do, and I keep meaning to make a layman law school short on it. You can't bolster your witness. It's something that Hank Brennan does a lot. You can't say, "Are you sure? Are you 100% sure?" You can't do that. Did he say that? Did he really say that? You can't do that. It's called bolstering the witness. You can't do it.
Did he have the keyboard with him?
yes, he did.
And what happened then?
He popped the trunk, put the keyboard into the car, I exited the car, and they left.
Why, let me ask you this. Why did you get in the back seat with him?
Objection, relevance. Overruled.
Why did I get in the backseat with him?
Right.
I didn't want him out of my sight.
Until he left the party?
Yeah, exactly.
And the limo driver had to retrieve the keyboard.
Yes,
That's the answer. Overruled.
So as soon as the limo driver came back with the keyboard, you let him take off.
yes,
Is that the last you saw of Phil Spector, at least that day?
yes.
Now, did you have any conversation with Dorothy Melvin, who made the initial call, at least you believe it was her voice, made the initial call to you to come upstairs to Joan Rivers' apartment? Did you have any more conversation with her that day about this incident?
Yes.
And when was that?
After Spector had left, I believe I went upstairs and saw Dorothy.
And what, said he left?
No, I asked her if we had a complainant, is everything all right? Does anybody want to press charges? And she told me no, everything.
Objection to what she said. Hearsay.
At this point, I'm going to sustain the objection, but it may become admissible at a later time. You may proceed.
Well, you went upstairs to have a conversation with Dorothy Melvin, is that right?
Yes,
It's asked and answered. Overruled.
And you asked her, was there a complainant or somebody wanted to press charges?
Objections.
I think I just sustained the objection to this line of questioning.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood.
Yes, I'm not talking about being admissible at this point. I'm talking about perhaps later. Just move along to a different.
All right. Did you call the police that day?
no,
Did you make any police report that day?
no.
Why?
I didn't. I didn't have a complainant. I didn't witness a crime. And I didn't make a report. And he left and the situation was under control and that was the end of it.
That was your job there then?
Yes,
Okay. Did you have a conversation with Joan Rivers about this? afterwards at any time?
No.
Let me withdraw that and ask you this. After the Christmas party, which was on Christmas Day, when was the next time that you saw Joan Rivers?
At least 3 weeks later.
You had some kind of break?
Yes.
What, a holiday break or just a break in the schedule?
Well, it was a combination of both. She was taping at CBS, a talk show, and over the Christmas holidays.
Overruled.
And over the Christmas holidays, they say the show goes dark, and we were off for 3 weeks.
So it just didn't come up?
Exactly.
Now I'd like you to think ahead a complete year to Christmas Day the next year. Now, as you've told us that you are not quite sure which year this was, we're talking about the mid-90s, right?
Yes.
But did you provide security at Joan Rivers' Christmas party 1 year later?
Yes.
1 year after this incident?
Yes.
And in doing so, did you go through the same procedures that you've already described to us?
Yes.
And among those would be arriving early at her apartment, correct?
Yes.
And getting the guest list.
Yes.
Now, when you got the guest list, this second Christmas party, just a year later, did you review the guests' names?
Yes.
Was there someone there that surprised you?
Yes.
And what name was that?
Phil Spector's.
You saw Phil Spector's name on the guest list again.
Yes.
And did you at that point say anything to anybody or just go about your business?
I just went about my business.
Oh, that wasn't your call.
Exactly.
Okay. And in doing so, you stood at the front door, checked in the guests, is that
Yes.
correct?
Oh,
At some point, did you see Phil Spector?
that wasn't his call. He's security. I would have, well, he didn't talk to Joan Rivers. Maybe she didn't realize what happened the year before. But I still would have said, hey, this guy pulled out a gun at your party last year and I had to send him home. Are you sure you want him on the guest list this year? Yeah, that's his place. He's security. That's what she pays him for.
Yes.
The same man we've been talking about.
Yes.
Did he have a keyboard this time?
No.
Did he come with a driver and a limo?
Yes.
Did you make a note of that complicated? Maybe I should just have asked you, at these Christmas parties, how many guests are we talking about? I mean, is this 10 or this 50 or 100 or 200? I don't have a sense of it.
It starts out maybe 50 or 70, but it could go 100, 150.
Okay. So big party
Big party.
for a private residence.
Yes.
Okay. So at the second Christmas party, Phil Spector arrives in his limo. He goes upstairs, and about an hour or so later, do you see him again?
Yes.
Now, during that hour, had you been upstairs and back down?
I might have went up probably, but I don't really could say for sure.
And maybe been outside and had a cigarette and noted where the cars were?
Yes.
So where are you when you see Phil Spector the second time after he'd entered the party at the second Christmas party?
I'm in the lobby of the building.
And what happens? Where do you see him? Who's he with?
The elevator doors opened up and Dorothy Melvin and Phil Spector exit the elevator.
And what's happening between them?
They're having an argument.
Loud, soft?
Loud.
And do you recall who's saying what?
Phil Spector was saying, that fucking cunt, that fucking cunt.
Same thing as a year before.
Exact same thing.
In the same manner?
Same manner, yes.
Did he appear calm and collected or angry or ranting? What?
He was angry.
Did he look to you as angry as the last year before? Did it appear to be similar?
Similar.
So after they come downstairs to the first floor where you are, out of the elevator, they're arguing and Phil Spector's making these statements that you've told us about. What happens then?
I then got in between Dorothy and Phil, and I started to move him towards the front door
I liked his other wig better.
of the lobby.
And does anyone say anything to you at that point?
I was told, put him in a car.
Who told you that?
Dorothy.
Dorothy Melvin.
Dorothy Melvin, yes.
So as she's saying, put him, was she referring to Phil Spector?
Yes.
Put him in the car, what's he doing? Is he still ranting and raving?
He's still, yes.
So what did you do to accomplish that? Did you take him aside and start to walk him out the building?
Yes.
And did something happen then? Did you see another person?
Yes.
Where was that other person when you saw him or her?
It was a female. She was exiting the elevator.
The same elevator that you'd used and that they apparently used, Dorothy and Phil Spector.
Yes.
What happened after you saw this woman come out of the elevator?
Phil Spector looked at her and said, that fucking cunt, that fucking cunt. And he said, I ought to put a bullet in her fucking head right now.
Phil Spector said that about the woman coming out the elevator?
Yes.
A bullet in her head?
Yes.
What did he do? Did he do anything at the time he was making those statements?
He started to take a couple of steps towards her.
And where were you in relationship to Phil Spector as Spector moved towards this woman that he made the comment about?
I was in front of him.
And what did you do, if anything?
I looked at him and I said, that's fucking it. I grabbed him and I took him out of the building.
You grabbed him. How'd you grab him? Where'd you grab him?
I grabbed him like here
On
his
the
jacket
coat lapels?
and said, that's it. And I took him out of the building and put him in a car.
Where was Dorothy when this happened? Was she still in the area when this woman came out and Spector made the statement towards the other woman, or was she gone?
No, she was still in the lobby.
So you grabbed Spector by the coat lapels and marched him out the building, is that right?
Yes.
You knew where his car was?
Yes.
What did you do when you got outside the building?
I put him in the back seat of the car, and he was followed by Dorothy Melvin. And I asked Dorothy if she was going to be all right. She said yes. I closed the door, and they left.
So they both got in the back seat of Phil Spector's limo?
Yes.
Dorothy and the defendant?
Yes.
And that was the last that you saw of Spector at that time?
Yes.
Had you seen him ever since until today?
In person?
Yeah.
No.
Now, on the second, let me withdraw that and ask you this. When we talked about the first Christmas party the year before, you told us that you patted him down, you felt what you thought was a weapon.
Yes.
Did you either feel or see a weapon at this second Christmas party that you just told us about?
No.
There's no indication one way or the other whether he had a weapon or not.
None.
You just didn't know one way or the other.
Right.
Could I have a moment, please, Your Honor? Thank you.
Okay, do you need to approach Mr. Rosen?
Yes.
All right, come on up.
Examination, the defense is going to put on another witness, and then they'll begin cross-examination of this witness this afternoon. So if you'll step down at the present time, sir, we'll bring you back at 1:30 this afternoon. Okay? And we'll have a witness, so we have some real time.
Well, that stinks. We're not going to get his cross-exam until tomorrow. StreamYard, you're killing me. Why do you do these things? I had it all ready to go, and now it disconnected my audio.
Please state and spell your first and last name.
Daniel, spelled Daniel. last of Stark, S-T-A-R-K.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Stark.
Good morning, sir.
You and I have met before, correct?
That's correct.
I think it was last week, is that right?
Sir.
Okay. Mr. Stark, you've been subpoenaed to be here today, is that not correct, sir?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And thanks very much for coming. We appreciate it. I know you're a busy fellow. Mr. Cox, what do you do for a living, sir? What is your profession?
I'm a Los Angeles City firefighter paramedic.
And how long have you been a firefighter paramedic?
November 13th of this year will be 7 years with Los Angeles City Fire Department.
Okay. And just if you would, tell us a little bit about what your training and experience is in terms of becoming a firefighter. And then if you would, fold that into what your training experience is to become a paramedic.
Okay, as far as training to become a firefighter for the city of LA, it's quite an extended process. You have to go through an 18-week drill tower where every day you're constantly evaluated up to your standards of your honesty and your integrity, as well as your physical ability to do the job. As far as becoming a paramedic, you have to first initially start off as emergency medical technician, at least with a minimum of 6 months, and that's just basic life support. You'll either work for a hospital or you'll work for a private ambulance, in which one of those entities will sponsor you. And then you will proceed to take an entrance exam to paramedic school, which is basically 2 years of registered nurse school that's broken down into 3-month didactic periods. So it's very accelerated in order to become a paramedic. You pass, I had 8 block exams, and you had quizzes every morning for that. After your 3 months of didactic, you go to 1 month of clinical internship where you evaluated by ER physicians as well as registered nurses. And then after that, you do either it's 20 shifts all the way up to a maximum of 30 field internship with a known 911 agency, whether it be LA County, LA City Fire, or any other fire department around here. And then you're rated, and you'll pass a national registry exam after that to deem if you are allowed to be licensed by the state. And every 2 years, you have to keep doing your continuing education in order to maintain your license, as well as the state is updated on your either your criminal history or your driving records by our department as well as other departments, so that the state can see whether they're going to keep you licensed as a paramedic in California.
Boy, that's a lot of training, isn't it?
Some. Yes, and then it's with the fire department's ongoing training throughout the year. We go down for continuing education. We drill with our other companies, drill with the battalion, the division. We do terrorist training down at LAX, as well as we've done it in downtown. So it's a constant, every day on the job it's a learning experience.
Have you done some of the anti-terrorist training yourself?
Yes, we actually did one right here next to the Staples Center. They simulated a bomb explosion at not the Staples Center, but the LA Convention Center. And we had probably half of our department was down there, and we had people from the TSB from LAX. They were actually the people that were playing the bodies, as well as we were pulling them in and out, and a simulation.
Are you one of the professional gentlemen that we folks see sometimes when we hear the sirens going and the lights in a fire truck, and you're rolling down the street at a fast speed to go to an emergency situation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would I be correct in assuming that you've responded many times to emergency situations in the years that you've been both a firefighter and a paramedic?
Yes, I actually started fresh out of high school at 17 years old. I started and got my EMT, and then started working private ambulance roughly around 18 or 19 years old. I've been on an ambulance, I think it's going to be almost 14 years now.
Mr. Stark, let me ask you something. How many lives have you saved in your career? Have you been to car accident scenes, horrendous car accident scenes to administer aid?
Yes, sir.
Have you also been to scenes where there have been fires where you had to render aid?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've tended to people in very serious condition?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Stark, I want to direct, is it correct to call you, by the way, Mr. Stark, or is it firefighter Stark? What do you prefer?
Either one is fine with me, sir.
Okay. Mr. Stark, I want to turn your attention back to approximately December of the year 2001, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. In December of 2001, as I understand it, you in fact were a firefighter and a paramedic, is that right?
I was a single function paramedic for the city, emergency appointment hire. At that time, I was not a firefighter.
Okay, when you say city, are we talking about Los Angeles?
For Los Angeles,
Okay,
yes.
for the city of Los Angeles. Were you assigned to a particular station in December of 2001?
Yes, Fire Station 27, Battalion 5, A shift.
Okay. Fire Station 27, Battalion 5, A shift. Would you share with the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, where is that located and what does that mean, Fire Station 27, Battalion 5, Simon?
Fire Station 27 is, I believe it's Sunset and Cole. It's in this battalion house of the Hollywood Division. It's basically, it's where we have a chief, and it encompasses a task force as well as 2 rescues. And basically, it's just headquarters for that battalion. We serve the Hollywood Hills and Sunset Hollywood Boulevard area.
Okay. And in December of 2001, you were working at that station as a firefighter, is that correct?
As a paramedic.
As a paramedic, excuse me. Okay. At some point, did you receive a call to go to a location other than the station?
Yes, every day.
Every day. In particular, did you receive a call at some point to respond to a party up in the Hollywood Hills?
Yes,
Do you remember that?
yes.
All right. Were you at the station when the call came in?
I'm not quite sure. We might have been out on the radio.
Okay. But you do remember getting the call and responding to the call?
Yes, sir. It was our first in.
Okay. And was that at a residence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it a multi-family residence, such as an apartment house or a condominium or a single-family residence? Do you remember?
I believe it was a single family dwelling.
Okay. And why don't you just tell the jury, you drove up there, did other firefighters go with you or paramedics go with you?
I believe the engine company went with us.
Okay.
I don't believe we went on our own, but I had one partner with me.
All right. And when you got up there, tell us what happened.
When we entered the residence, we found a woman. I could not recall whether she was sitting on a chair or on the floor, but she had bilateral fractures to both of her wrists.
Okay, hold on a second. Hang on a second. We're moving a little quick here.
Sorry.
No, it's not a problem. So you go into the residence, is that correct?
Correct.
Were there people inside the residence?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, you mentioned a moment ago that there was a woman who had bilateral fractures to both her wrists, is that correct?
Correct.
Is that in part how you remember this?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because it's almost for certain, it's the second time in my career that I've ever seen people with 2 broken wrists at the same time. The only other one that I know of in my recollections is a woman broke her wrist by holding onto the steering wheel at the brace of an impact of a car. This was a fall.
Okay, but the other woman, that was probably a car accident?
That was a car accident.
This was a residence?
This was a residence.
So you can distinguish the 2 in your mind?
Yes, sir.
If I showed you a picture, do you think you might be able to identify that woman?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Jen, can I have your help, please? Can we have that blown up? All right. There's a photo up on the screen, as you can see, and it shows, as I count, 2, 4, 6, 7 people, correct?
Correct.
And a lady on the table, right? Can you identify the lady who had the 2 broken wrists at the residence in the Hollywood Hills from this photo?
The top left corner.
Okay. And we circled, is that the individual that's now circled?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Your Honor, may we have this marked defense next in order, which I think is
It would be L, septuple L.
septuple L? Okay. All right. So it was the lady with the leg on the table who we just circled. It was that person, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you went inside, and I think you indicated that you don't recall if she was in her on the floor. Is that right?
Correct.
But you do recall, I think you said she was crying. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And just tell us what happened. Did you treat her?
Yes, sir. I was a driver that day. I do initial treatment, and the treatment after that is followed up by the attending person. What I did for her.
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't you just tell the jury what you did for her? You came upon the scene with this woman, this lady with 2 broken wrists. How'd you try and help her? What'd you do for her?
What I did for her is I splintered her fractures. We checked for distal post-motor sensation to make sure she hasn't lost her sense of feeling in her hands, as well as we'll look, see if the fractures are open or closed, and make sure that she doesn't have any serious swelling to see if she's got any bleeding interstitially in her skin. I splintered her wrists, and then I started an IV on her because my partner was going to get a base hospital order for morphine for pain. And that was, of course, the treatment we did. Ice pack, splint, and transport with the IV. And then my partner called in to get the morphine order.
Okay, was that approved, the morphine order?
That morphine order was approved.
I take it you could discern that she was in great pain.
Yes, sir.
How did you notice that? From her crying and other things?
Crying and the way her wrist looked. I think I'd cry too.
How did her wrist look? It must have been.
They were angulated. They had obvious deformity that they were broken. And it's not something like where you can say it's a sprain. It's a break. And then you have crepitus or anything like that.
All right, so if I take my hands and my wrists, I've broken a lot of things with the wrist, and I bend it back, it didn't look like that, did it?
No, for
Much further?
yes.
Okay. Indicating for the record, Your Honor, I'm just holding my hands up and move my wrist back as far as I can, which is almost a 90-degree angle to my arm. Yes. Okay. So it was very clear to you that she was in a lot of pain.
Yes, sir.
All right. You said you started an IV. Tell the jury what you did once you got the IV started and you got the approval for the morphine.
I was already driving. My partner, after reviewing the emergency medical service report from our department, my partner pushed morphine in 3 different increments. A base hospital order will give you 2 to 10 milligrams to a max of 20 to titrate for pain. My partner, Bruce, only gave 10 milligrams, and that helped her. He gave it an initial 4 milligram increment, then waited to see if that worked for her a little bit, then gave another 4, and then to top it off, he gave the final 2, which is 10 milligrams, which is carried in. It's 10 milligram vials.
Why do you give morphine?
We give it for pain. We used to also give it for congestive heart failure, but this time it was for pain. And even at this time, the county department of health and the state are requesting that we use a lot of morphine on people now just to help people with the pain in their lives when they have breaks or anything of that nature.
Okay. You've given us some information here. Your Honor, I have a 1-page document titled Los Angeles Fire Department Emergency Medical Service Report. It can be identified by the B as in boy, D as in David, number 464031. I'd ask that be marked next in order, which I believe would be septuple M.
That's correct.
It may be already marked. This has been marked.
It's already been marked?
EE.
Okay, so you're not going to mark it then, all right.
So I'll ask that it not be marked.
And I'll grant that request.
I'm doing good. I better quit now. Can we have an EE up, please? Thank you. Okay. Mr. Stark, can you open that up, please? Is that possible, please? Okay. Let's start with the top. Mr. Stark, I'm asking you to take a look at what this previously marked defendant's EE. Do you see this document?
Yes, sir.
All right. And can you just, if you would, explain to us what this is in terms of how it fits in with what you just testified to about the treatment that you administered to this lady?
Basically, the medical service report F902M is basically everything that's been done on the call. If it hasn't been written, it wasn't done.
Okay.
It's a binding legal document with our department. We also use for transfer of care at the hospitals as well as a legal document, and that's basically what it's for.
Let's start with the top portion here. What is the name of the lady that you treated that evening?
Last name's Clarkson, first of Lana.
Okay. and that's being highlighted, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you see a date of birth there for her also?
It is 4/3/62.
Is it 4/3 or is that 4/5?
Can't even tell from here.
Nah, go show it. I'm going to show you a copy of the document. Why don't you take a look at it, Mr. Stark, and tell me if that assists you in any way.
4/5/62.
Thank you. Uh-huh. And is there most of the information is pretty self-explanatory as we look at it. So let's move down to the next section, if we could, please, Jen, which is the vital meds and comment section. Throughout that and down. There we go. Thank you, please. We're going to blow this up for you, Mr. Stark. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain to us what's there and what this all means. Translate it into English so the jury here can understand it, and I can understand it, and everybody else can understand it.
Are you wanting me to start where the vital signs are or where the comments are?
Well, you're familiar with the form. Why don't you do it, whichever way you're comfortable with?
Okay, in the comments, it says 30.
I'm going to bring this up to him so sure. I feel. Let me bring it up to you, sir.
Okay. Comments say 39-year-old female complaining of slip and fall, ground level, fracture to both wrists, slight deformity to left and more to right. Alert ANO ×4 stands for alert and oriented ×4.
What does that mean, alert and oriented ×4?
Alert, they're awake and they're looking at us, oriented to person, place, time, and event. If you can't, back in this year, if you couldn't answer the 4 questions, we considered you to alter level of consciousness. Now it's just, in this year, it's ANO ×3 instead. So it's person, place, and event now.
All right, would you continue on, please?
A 0 with a /KO. She did not knock out. She did not lose consciousness. I'm not sure on that little mark he made, but I think it's positive PMS distal to fracture, which is positive pulse motor sensation distal to the fracture. So she didn't lose any of her capillary refill, and she still had feeling in her hands and her fingertips. And it says pre and post splint. We do check pulse motor sensation bilaterally, which means both sides before and after splinting. 0 with a /, no other obvious trauma. No neck or back pain. And then TX treatment, O2 saline lock is SL. MS ×10 transport. MS ×10 is morphine sulfate ×10. And then TSP was transport. The bottom of the comments is ALER. He wrote for allergies is penicillin and sulfa.
All right, let's stop here for a second. If you take a look at the next section, there is a set of columns that are pre-printed in this section. And I want you to take a look over to the right, third to the last column, which says dose given. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Which is now being highlighted by Jim. Thank you very much. What does that mean?
Dose given, he wrote saline lock.
What does that mean?
That would have been basically 5 cc's of normal saline.
Would have that gone through the IV that you started?
Yes, you do that to flush it so that the saline lock doesn't clot with blood platelets.
What did you administer to her, Miss Clarkson, after the saline lock?
I gave her normal saline, and that was all I gave her.
Okay, then what?
I got in the ambulance and drove, and my partner, Bruce Liverpool, pushed the morphine 3 times, and you can see it's documented there.
All right, when you say 3 times, I'm reading this if I'm wrong, please correct me, and it looks like 4 milligrams, is that right?
4 milligrams.
Okay, 4 milligrams, 4 more milligrams, and then 2 more milligrams.
Correct.
So he used the full 10 milligrams that he was given approval to do in the order, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Rosen, how much time do you have left?
I think I can, a good breaking point within the next 3 to 5 minutes.
No, I think the breaking point would be now.
Can I have one last question?
One last question.
Can it be a long last
It
question?
could be a short question.
Mr. Stark, is that a significant amount of morphine to give to somebody because of pain?
Objection, Your Honor. Also speculation. And it's
Well, he can do it
vague.
based on his experience. He can answer based on his experience, and then you can cross-examine on it.
You may answer.
10 milligrams, that would definitely produce a euphoria for, but it's all dependent on people's size. Like if you go on somebody who's 300 or 400 pounds and they have a break, depending on their body size, you'd have to give more. But if Bruce did get an order, they'll always tell you max to 20.
Okay. How about somebody who's about 5'10", 5'11", 6 feet, and weighs about, say, 150, 160 pounds?
That seems like a proper dose. What it has to be is when you push morphine, what you're doing is you're looking for when you produce the euphoria on the person, because you don't want to overdose them, because then it becomes another problem if you cause them to have respiratory depression through the push of MS.
Okay, let's stop on that point, and we're all going to have lunch, and then we'll have you back here at 1:30. And thank you, sir, for
1:30 this
your
afternoon. Thank you. Keep in mind the avenue, ladies and gentlemen, 1:30.
I gave morphine to a cancer patient one time, and it depressed her respiration so low. I don't remember what it was, but it depressed her respiration so slow that I had to give her Narcan. And Narcan works like that. Immediately reverses the effect of the opioid. Talk about guilt. I didn't do anything wrong, because you don't want your patient to die because you've given them too much morphine. And it was in the middle of the night because I worked night shift. This poor woman, sound asleep, and I had to wake her up I didn't wake her up. I gave her the Narcan, which woke her up because she was in extreme pain. All I could do was apologize. I wanted to cry so bad. It was horrific, and I will never forget it as long as I live. It was horrible. But that's the risk when you give anybody morphine, is that they could stop breathing. It is a horrible, horrible drug. I hate it. You have a weird allergy to morphine? What does it do? I've got it on my allergy list, but it's not an allergy. It's a sensitivity, because nausea is a side effect of the drug. So it's not really considered an allergy, but I get overly nauseous with it, to the point that I can't take it. Like, it'll make me fall asleep. Oh, it makes you itch? Yeah, it will make you itch, but if it's to the point that it's like, you have a sensitivity to it too. It's like, if the side effect is out of control, then that's a sensitivity. And my out of control is the vomiting. As soon as the pain goes away and I fall asleep, then I wake up puking my guts up. So the one time I ever had it, I don't remember which one of my surgeries it was, but they would give it to me. The pain would go away. I would fall asleep and I would wake up puking. And then they gave me Phenergan for the nausea. Oh, that's miserable. Yeah. So you have a sensitivity to it. I have a sensitivity to it too. Yeah. So yeah, always tell them, don't give me morphine. That's what I do. Now, if I need pain medicine, I say, give me Dilaudid, don't give me morphine, because Dilaudid doesn't do it. I don't know if Dilaudid would make you itch, though, because it's the same family, right? They gave you morphine to stop your labor? That's weird. I never heard of that. That's weird. But yeah, I can't take morphine.
All right. Back on the record, all parties, jurors, alternates, and the witness are present as heretofore. You may resume.
Welcome back, Mr. Stark, and thanks for coming back.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jen, could we get that exhibit back up on the, thank you, I think it's quintuple E, or quintuple E rather. Thank you, okay, could we have that one section blown up? I think we're just about finished completing. Please. Thank you. Your eye is focused. 4 E's. Okay. Quadrant. Check the movement just a little bit. So it's a little more centered than that. There we go. Okay. Mr. Stark, before we took a break, I think we were chatting a little bit about this. We had gone through the column entitled dose given, and James highlighted that for a moment. And I think that you could testify, sir, that in fact there were 10 milligrams of morphine administered to Ms. Clarkson. Would be correct?
Yes, sir.
Could you just briefly tell us what the rest of the entries along the various horizontal lines mean?
Off to the right, it says number 2, that means team member number 2. If you refer up near the top of the form, you'll see where it has the paramedic ID numbers. Team number 1 is Bruce Liverpool, team number 2 is me. And that shows me starting the IV for the first one.
Okay. And in the final vertical column, I can't see what it says effect, I think, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, and there appears to be some zeros and pluses.
Yes.
Could you just explain that to the jury for a moment, please, what that means?
For as far as my IV is concerned, saline is not going to give you any type of effect unless you give it in a large dose, like in a failure patient. So the 5 cc's is not going to hurt her. And the positive marks for the morphine are showing the effect that, yes, she did start to produce a euphoria. The morphine did start to take effect. And the last 2, Bruce put 0 for the final effect. I'm not sure as to the reasoning why, because 10 milligrams would have caused a pretty good effect.
10 milligrams is a pretty good dose.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could we now please drop down to the final section, please, Jen, if you would? Thank you very much. All right. And can you explain what information is revealed in this portion of this form? What does this tell us?
Okay, where it's filled out,
You want me to bring it up to you?
yeah, it's fine.
A little easier? Court permission? Yes. May I remain here just for this room? Because I don't have another copy.
Okay, where it's filled out, as far as where you see the city signature there, that has nothing to do with this case or this form here, because that's medical complaint only. Where we're looking at for this 902M is at the far left, you'll see blood, which stands for the B, and then FR, fracture. So that would have been a blunt extremity fracture, which would be indicated by a fall, which is the mechanism of injury over here on the right that you see up there. And that's what's marked in this box. As far as level of severity, it's the next box down for just up a little higher. It's that one horizontal line. We placed her in moderate distress due to the pain and the fractures. And the next box down, eyes, motor, verbal, is just it's a Glasgow coma score that we use to rate patients, whether you're altered. Like eyes would be spontaneous, motor, they're able to move all extremities, verbal, they're alert and oriented. So that gives us a level of severity where we can basically give the receiving hospital a score, because anything less than or equal to 14 is considered altered LOC. So as long as they're at 15 on the Glasgow coma score, they're not indicated to be in trauma center criteria. Then it's just County Department of Health policies that we have to follow. As far as her eyes, it's pearl, pupils are equally reactive to light. And she was. Respiratory was clear with normal tidal volume. That means she's breathing just like you and I. and skins do appear normal. That box is checked over to the far right.
Okay. Let me direct your attention now, if I may, please, to what appears to be some cursive printing or writing below the boxes you've just gone through. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And can you just, I've highlighted it for you on your form. Can you just read what that says?
It says patient has only slight pain relief with MS.
What does that mean?
She's only gotten some production of the effect of morphine at that time when we did the reassessment prior to transfer of care. She hadn't been to a point where we've pushed so much morphine that she doesn't know, because with the amount of maximum morphine we can push is 20 milligrams. You can basically either put somebody in a respiratory depression if you push too much too fast, or you can put them into something like most of us know if we've ever had surgery. Doctor gives you a good dose when you get just after surgery and you're knocked out. You're in bed, your pain's gone, and you're asleep, because that's what morphine's effects can do. But she only had slight pain relief according to this medical document.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Sir. Did you actually place Miss Clarkson in the ambulance that day?
Yes, I'm driver, I have to load the patient.
After she was placed, I assume in the back of the ambulance?
Yes, sir.
Did Bruce get in the ambulance with you?
Yes, sir. He was attendant. He was the most experienced member, so he'll be on the radio because I only had a year on the job at the time.
Okay. Sometimes you guys just interchange your positions in terms of treatments. Where'd you take Miss Clarkson?
Took her to Cedar Sinai.
Okay. Was that Cedar Sinai Medical Center?
Yes, sir.
Okay, over on Beverly Boulevard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you, once you took her to the hospital, did you take her out of the ambulance and place her in the care of the ER room?
Yes, sir. It's called transfer of care. It has to be done. You have to release the patient to a higher medical authority, or it's called patient abandonment and negligence.
And after you were satisfied that she had been received properly, did you and Bruce then leave?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I just have one other area question I want to ask you about. I want you to go back to the residence in the Hollywood Hills. All right?
Yes, sir.
You've arrived with Bruce, you've gotten out of the ambulance, and you make entry into the residence to help this individual, correct?
Yes, sir.
Approximately how many people were in this foyer area?
I believe I recollected 8 to 10.
Do you recall, in fact, if there were any children present?
No, I do not.
Did you notice anything about the consumption of alcohol?
Just that.
Judge, that's big.
Well, let's hear what he has to say. I think he understands the question. I agree, but tell us what you saw.
What I saw was multiple individuals with, there was one gentleman helping Lana, Miss Clarkson. He was holding up her wrists. I went to treat her. I smelled alcohol on her, as well as I noticed as other people were walking around that people had slurred speech, as well as Lana did. So that's indicating that there is consumption of alcohol has been taken, and the effects of alcohol were in effect.
When you say that, in layman's terms, does that mean, in your opinion, she was inebriated?
Inebriated, yes, is a term that we use.
Okay. Did you find the odor of alcohol to be predominant in that area where you were taking care of her in the foyer?
Yes, sir. I was face to face with this young lady, taking care of her.
And did you make a conclusion about whether or not she was tipsy?
She was under the influence.
Yes. I want you to take a look. Jim, can we get that back up on the board, please, for the jury? I'd like you to take a look again at defendant's quadruple E. Okay? The form that we've been talking about. I think you called it what did you call it, a 90?
902M.
Okay, up in the left-hand corner, 902M. Is there a section on this form that provides for the observation of alcohol with somebody that you are responding to?
There is a place on the bottom of the form where you have Glasgow Coma Scale down at the bottom, near the bottom left.
All right, hold on one second. Let's get that up on the board. Jen, your help, please. And I think you'll need to blow that up even more if you can.
Let's see, it says ETOH/drug.
There we go. Okay. Do you see that on the board?
Yes, sir.
Can the jury see that okay? Yeah, okay. Jen has highlighted that. I noticed there's a box in front of the letters ETOH/drug, correct?
Correct.
The box is not checked, is that right?
Correct.
Could you please explain that?
That box can be checked in different manners. Personally, when I do 902Ms and I'm the one that's bringing the radio man that day, if somebody's under the influence of any type of alcohol, I always put it. Why my partner did or did not do it, that is entirely up to him. It's his document. It's his signature that he represents. As far as this document, I did not fill it out. So his ETOH box was not checked. But there is also times if alcohol is not dealing with the person's driving, some paramedics do not check that box because they don't feel it's appropriate. Or unless they've gotten into car accidents or severe major trauma, then they'll check that box. It's basically it's a tool that we use. You can either check the box or you can write it down up in here, up in your comments section. It's basically up to the paramedics'
Why do they paramedic then?
feelings of if he wants to write it or not.
Okay. You do remember, as I recall very clearly, that Ms. Clarkson was needed that day, correct?
Yes, sir.
If you had the opportunity to fill out that portion of this form, which has been identified.
That was 6 years before. Why didn't they call the paramedic that filled out the report? And what are they trying to prove? That she drinks? What does that have anything to do? Jill. What does that have anything to do with her death? I thought they were going to say she broke her wrist so she wouldn't be able. No, that would have been the prosecution that would have said she broke her wrist so she couldn't shoot a gun. I don't know where they're going with this.
By his defendant's quadruple E. Would have you left the box blank like that?
No.
It's irrelevant for purposes of this here.
I'm going to allow him to testify to it.
No, sir, I would have checked the box. When I fill 902s, I fill out the comments as well because it covers all bases so that when I do have to stand in court, if there ever comes another case, everything is there.
Did it appear to you that Ms. Clarkson was the only one that had been drinking?
No, it did not.
What were your observations in that regard as to the other individuals?
Other people were under the influence as well. There was one gentleman holding up her hands, and he had slurred speech as well as he was talking to us. We had to ask him to step aside so that we could take over patient care.
Of course, those are for a moment. All right. Stark, thank you, sir, very much. Pass the witness.
Thank you. Thank you. No, so you're not quite done yet. Go ahead, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm not going to spend too much time with you, Mr. Stark. There's a couple of questions that I've got concerning your testimony. Specifically, you indicated that this was back in 2001 that you made these observations, correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't write any notes or reports about your observations at that time, correct?
No, sir.
As a matter of fact, you were the driver that night, and there are bookmen or drivers, and then there are attendants who are, or the attendant is the paramedic or the emergency medical personnel who's specifically assigned to attend to the patient during transport, correct?
Correct.
Okay. First of all, at that time back in 2001, you had been a paramedic and you were not a firefighter, correct?
Correct.
You had been paramedic for less than a year, is that right?
That's not correct.
How long have you been a paramedic?
I've been a paramedic since '98.
Okay, on this particular job, I guess. I must have misunderstood you. You said that you had been on the job for a year, less than a year.
I was just 11 or 13 months at that time. I was hired November 13th of 2000.
Okay, so 13 months on the job.
Correct.
How long at that time had Bruce Liverpool been on the job?
I'm taking a wild guess, maybe 17 years.
Okay. He was vastly your senior insofar as chronology is concerned. He had been doing the job a lot longer than you had.
As far as a firefighter, yes. I'm not sure how long Bruce has been a medic.
Okay. He was certainly your senior that time.
Yes, sir.
All right. And you would have been his subordinate in terms of, I mean, I'm not suggesting that you were being bossed around, but his subordinate in terms of what the proper protocols were, et cetera, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So in other words, if he decided to take particular action, you would have deferred to his experience and his level of expertise, correct?
You can defer. However, when you're a paramedic with another paramedic, you work as a team because not every time another paramedic sees what you see. That's why you work as a team. Just because one person with 17 years makes a decision doesn't mean it's always the right one.
Sure, I understand that. But
Okay.
my point is, I guess in general, if the two of you were to become loggerheads about a particular issue, I mean, even as minor as which route to take up to the Hollywood Hills, he would, of course, have had more experience on the job. You might defer to his expertise on that particular issue, correct?
Yes.
Okay. As the driver, you got out of the, by the way, what kind of vehicle were you driving?
Back then, the 2000 Ford F-350 modular.
Okay, and that modular truck is outfitted with all the, I mean, it's what we look at and think of as an ambulance, correct?
It's the square ones now, not the little round vans like before.
Right, okay. You were driving the Ford to the location, correct?
Yes, sir.
Drove the Ford from the location back to the hospital, correct?
Correct.
Which hospital did you go to?
Cedars-Sinai Medical Center.
All right, and once at the location, you indicated that you got out, went into the residence, correct?
Correct.
This is a single-family residence.
Yes.
You walked in and made an assessment immediately of what the problem was, correct?
Yes.
All right, and that would have included seeing Miss Lana Clarkson sitting in a chair, I think you said.
I believe he was in a chair on the floor. I couldn't recall that.
Her hands were elevated.
Yes, they were being held up by another man.
Did she appear to be in some distress?
She was crying.
Okay, did she appear to be in a substantial amount of pain?
Yes.
And it appeared that she was, from your expertise and testifying now, you've had several years since then, but in your experience now, it appeared that the crying was not out of frustration or something. Literally, she was sobbing in pain, correct?
Correct.
All right. You indicated it's a little bit hard to talk about. Those of us who aren't in the medical field get a little queasy. You said that her wrists were so deformed, the bones were so deformed that you could actually see through the skin, the deformed in the
You can
in the
see
shape
deformity, the shape.
in the shape of the wrist.
Correct.
In other words, she had long, thin wrists, and those wrists were broken so badly that you could see that the bones were deformed under the skin.
Yes, and you could also, when you have a complete fracture or anything of that nature, whether it is wherever on your body, your bone will flop. And each time that the bone moves around, you get something called crepitus, where the torsion between both bones will keep rubbing against each other, which causes excruciating pain as well.
Okay. And it appeared that she was, and to use your word, excruciating pain.
Yes, that is.
Now, you have spoken to, about this incident, you had spoken to the defense before your testimony, correct?
Correct.
How many times did you spoken to the defense? A member from the defense?
Twice.
Who were those people?
I spoke to Roger and I spoke to Tani.
Okay, first name basis.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember his last name, sorry.
Roger Rosen
Okay.
and Tawny Tyndall?
Yes, I just knew him by the first name.
Okay. Mr. Rosen put for purposes of identification, Mr. Rosen put a photograph that we had heretofore to see in this courtroom on the overhead. It was a photograph of what appeared to be a party or some people at a party or at a dinner or something. And Lana Clarkson was in the upper left-hand corner, correct?
Correct.
And she had her leg on a table, correct?
Correct.
It appeared like a group of folks having a pretty good time.
Correct.
Okay, you don't know when that picture was taken?
No, I do not.
You don't know what the circumstances were?
No, I do not.
And that picture certainly has nothing to do with the night in question when she broke her wrists.
Yes.
Okay. How many other pictures did Mr. Rosen show you of Miss Clarkson?
That was the only one, and the first person to show it to me was Tawny.
My mistake. I assumed something I shouldn't have assumed. So Tawny Tyndall was given that photograph to show you specifically?
Yes.
And she showed you no other photographs.
No.
And you're aware that there are a lot of other photographs of Lana Clarkson that have, full facial features, like headshots. You know what a headshot is?
Yes, I know what those are.
All right, and you've seen this trial's been published on national television for several weeks, several months now, correct?
I've seen a couple things on it.
Okay. And you've obviously seen pictures on the news of Lana Clarkson in that blue outfit and longer blonde hair, et cetera.
No, sir.
Take a look at People's 14. You've never seen that photograph?
No, sir.
Do you recognize the woman in that photograph?
Looks like her.
Okay, that looks like Lana Clarkson.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Stark, obviously this is a much better photograph of Miss Clarkson's face than that photograph of the folks gathered behind the table, correct?
I'm going to object to that argument.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Can you see Miss Clarkson's face readily in this photograph?
Yes,
As a
sir.
matter of fact, this is from basically a photograph of the bust up, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she's facing the camera.
Yes, sir.
There's no other people in the photograph, correct?
No, sir.
And you weren't shown this photograph, correct?
I was only shown one photograph, and I wasn't shown that photograph till after I had been talked to on the phone, where I told Tani that I think I could help because I recalled that call.
And Mr. Stark,
Well, excuse me, Your Honor, he's cutting you off.
I'm cutting him off because it's unresponsive to my question.
It's
I'm going to let him answer. Go ahead.
Okay, because you're saying that basically it's just a photograph, that's all they showed me. I'm telling you right now that I was not shown the photograph until after I had talked to Tani and after we had talked about the 902 and everything. An hour and a half later, she finally showed me a photograph. She goes, "Do you recognize this woman?"
Okay.
And I go, "Yeah, that's her. That's the one that broke her wrist." And she goes, "Do you want to know what this is about?" I said, "I don't care what it's about."
Objection. At this point, it's not
All
responsive.
right, the latter part I'll strike. The jury's admonished, disregarded. You may ask another question.
And Mr. Stark, no reason to get defensive. I'm just asking
No, I
which
wouldn't
photographs you were shown.
That's already been.
First of all, Mr. Rose, you change your tone.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'll rephrase the question.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Stark, all I'm asking you is very simple. All my question was how many photographs were you shown by either Ms. Tyndall or Mr. Rose?
What?
Okay, and this was not one of them,
No.
correct? Okay, I'm not asking you about when you were shown photographs or what was explained to you.
Okay.
The only photograph that you were shown is of Lana Clarkson at what appeared to be a dinner gathering, some folks having fun, and her leg was up on the table,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. Were you aware that the defense had, as a matter of fact, in evidence when you were interviewed, plenty of these headshots that they could have showed you?
No, I did not.
Okay. With regard to the injury that Ms. Clarkson sustained, and getting back to that night that you actually went to the residence, you indicated on direct examination that the injury was so bad that you thought you'd cry too.
Yes.
Why did you describe it? I mean, that's a very visual way of describing it. Why would you describe the injuries in that particular manner?
Well, the severe angulated fracture, I think anybody would cry because you got bones rubbing against each other and you're going to be in pain.
Okay. Pretty extraordinary pain.
Yes.
All right. When you first approached, your main goal was to stabilize her wrists, correct?
Correct.
Did you place ice packs on her wrists?
We put ice packs as well as we put the cardboard splints on our wrists.
Okay, and that's to mainly immobilize the wrists, correct?
Yes, so that with the movement of the fracture, they don't lacerate the radial artery or anything, and then they have a larger problem being cut vascular
Okay.
area.
Were you able to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you were able to see what basic injuries Ms. Clarkson had sustained just from your visual view of her wrists, correct?
Correct.
Her wrists were uncovered, I assume, not like mine are with the jacket, but you could see the skin and, well, not the bone, but the shape of the bone, correct?
Correct.
All right, so it didn't take a lot for you to get to the point where you knew, oh my goodness, I gotta stabilize her wrists and try to reduce any swelling that might occur, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that didn't require a long interview with Ms. Clarkson, for instance?
Just speaking to her for the normal Glasgow Coma scale.
Okay.
Can she feel her fingertips?
Okay.
And a couple things we'd ask about history, allergies, meds.
Okay, and she was
Yeah,
able to
that would be
respond
it.
to all that?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to check.
You're starting to get very quick, Mr. Jackson, and you're also cutting the witness off. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Had you finished your answer, Mr. Stark?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize, I didn't mean to step on your words. She was able, I guess my last question that I interrupted you on was she was able to answer those questions about the fingers and allergies and medications and things like that?
Yes,
Okay, to your satisfaction?
yes.
Obviously, one of the main characteristics of your job is to engage in whatever medical intervention you need to as quickly and efficiently as possible, such that the patient will not suffer any undue lag time, any undue pain as a result of going slowly, correct?
Correct.
I'm gonna object a compound question. I don't have a problem with the subject matter, it's just the way the question is phrased, it's compound.
Is the answer the same as to both parts of the question? Do you remember the question?
No, sir.
Break the question down.
So much for that.
That makes two of us, Mr. Stark. Let's try it this way.
Sorry.
One of the hallmarks of your type of practicing your type of medicine is to make sure that you do it quickly, correct?
Correct.
Efficiently.
Yes, sir.
No undue lag of time, correct?
Correct.
So you're not engaging in a slow, methodical conversation. You simply ask the questions that need to be asked to get to the form, to get her in the back of the ambulance, to get her to the hospital so that she can enjoy the care of a physician, correct?
Yes, that's the whole purpose, is to get a patient more definitive care.
Once you stabilized your wrists and did I think you should call it the Glasgow-Coma test or question?
Glasgow-Coma scale is,
Scale.
yes.
Sorry. Once you did that, did you push an IV?
I started the IV, yes.
Okay, you started it while she was still seated either on the ground or in the chair in
Yes.
the house. Once the IV was started, I guess I should say, you didn't allow her to walk around.
No, she was on the gurney.
Okay. She was immediately transferred to a gurney, which is the roll-around bed that we've all come to know and love from TV shows, et cetera, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then shove that into the back of the ambulance and the legs collapse automatically and it goes back into the back of the ambulance, correct?
Correct.
At that point, Bruce Liverpool took over as the attendant, correct?
Correct.
Attendant or attending?
Attended.
Sorry, as the attendant. And therefore, he was in close contact with Ms. Clarkson for the entire trip back to the Cedars-Sinai facility, correct?
Correct.
His whole job as the attendant is to ensure that she's receiving the proper medical care and any, I know some of these words from watching Grey's Anatomy or some show like that. I can't remember any of them though, but when you engage in some kind of trauma, what am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? When you're actually trying to stop whatever is bleeding, stop whatever is hurting, fix whatever is broken, on the way to the hospital.
It's ongoing care and patient reassessment.
Okay, that wasn't quite the phrase I was looking for, but it sounds a lot better than what I was thinking of.
Okay.
You should write for Ethan and triage. That's what I was thinking of, exactly. Triage.
Triage is a form of rapid assessment and rapid transport that has to do with the START system for multi-casualty incidents. It has nothing to do with a single patient.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop watching Grey's Anatomy. But that just made me look stupid. All right. Bruce Liverpool, his entire job during the transport process was to make sure that Lana Clarkson was getting proper medical care.
Correct.
He would engage in conversation with her about allergies to medicines, things like that. Correct?
If it was already answered,
Okay. He might engage with her in conversation about additional medical care that she may need on the way there. For instance, he might follow up on your initial conversation and say, can you still feel your fingers? Things like that.
yeah, and then with women, we also ask for chances of pregnancy because that changes all care for a woman.
Absolutely. So he would ask her those questions.
Mm-hmm.
And is that yes?
Yes.
And that would be before any medicine is pushed in the back of the ambulance, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so all of these assessments are going on during that trip, and you are driving at this point, correct?
Correct.
All right. During the trip to the hospital, let's say in this particular case it's Cedars-Sinai, the hospital has to be notified that in fact someone's coming. Like, hey folks, get the emergency room ready, we've got a gunshot wound victim or someone with bilateral fractures on the wrist or a broken leg or something like that, correct?
No.
How's that done? How is the hospital notified?
Hospital is only notified if a patient meets advanced life support criteria.
Okay.
The reasoning why we contacted for Lana is because we wanted the order for morphine.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
so there are two reasons to contact the hospital. One is to go ahead and push a dose of morphine if you need to, and you have to get hospital approval first.
Yes,
And
at that time, that year, yes, not anymore.
Okay, and the second, back in 2001, was what you just said, advanced life support kind of stuff.
Correct.
All right, but in fact, the hospital was contacted in this case, correct?
Yes, base hospital contact was made.
And Bruce Liverpool was the one who made that contact.
Yes,
It's important in your job to make sure that when you're giving medicine to someone, especially something like morphine that can be overdosed on, that information, medical information, physical information is copiously taken down on reports and notes and documented such that you don't give something to someone that they're allergic to, correct?
correct.
Or you don't give too high a dosage based on someone's weight or advanced age or youthful age or something like that, correct?
Correct.
So these forms that, and Mr. Rosen showed you a couple of them, these types of forms that you guys fill out are done, they're created in order to save lives, correct?
Correct.
And it's important to get the proper information onto this form. More importantly, it's important to get the proper information to you and through the patient and then on to the hospital if that's necessary, correct?
Correct.
And so a lot of attention is paid to what the proper information is being relayed. Is that right?
Correct.
And you took, I'm assuming you worked with Bruce Liverpool. You said that he had probably, in your estimation, 17 years of experience. You found him to be very competent.
Yes.
You found him to be very professional.
Yes.
You found him to be good at what he did.
Yes.
Okay. You had no quarrel with his qualifications to perform these very life-saving duties, if you will, that Mr. Rosen asked you about, correct?
No.
Okay. Take a look at what's been previously marked as People's 57. A base hospital form is a form once, and you've explained to us, Mr. Stark, that there are certain circumstances in which ambulance personnel will in fact contact the hospital and will in fact relay information directly from the patient or their own observations, correct?
Correct.
And that form is filled out, that information is put in a form that's filled out by the hospital itself, correct?
Correct.
Do you recognize this form that's called a base hospital form? And just for our purposes, it's been marked as People's 57. You're looking at something on the upper left-hand corner that has the number, log number 164259. Do you recognize this form?
Yes, that's an MICN's form.
And
Mobile intensive.
I'm sorry, y'all. I couldn't hold it in. I will tell y'all later. I'm so sorry. You guys know I have no impulse control.
Care nurse.
okay, MICN.
MICN, they're the ones that answer the radios when paramedics call into the hospitals. Either that or a physician does.
Where it indicates underneath the severity of illness portion, the narrative, it looks like it's been written on in handwriting. It's the severity of illness portion.
Yes.
I'm interested in talking to you real quick about this portion of the narrative that is in handwriting. This information, in no small part, is placed on the form before the patient even arrives, correct?
Correct.
So Bruce, since you were driving, and Bruce was the more experienced person, well, Bruce happened to be the attendant at this particular time, he was providing information to the hospital, correct?
Correct.
And the information that he provided included fell on carpet while dancing, correct?
Yes.
Vital wrist deformities, good cap refill, and something, I can't quite read that. PRO or PRG,
It's
something like
pre and post splitting.
Okay. What does that mean? Bilateral wrist deformities, good cap refill.
Bilateral means both sides.
Okay.
Wrist deformities, that's obvious.
You described that.
And good capillary refill means that she has capillary refill less than 2 seconds. You test it by pushing on your fingernail bed, and it goes white to red within less than 2. You have no delayed perfusion in your extremities.
Okay. So all of that was fine, and that was relayed to the hospital, correct?
Correct.
And then what does the next highlighted portion mean?
They've got 0/ETOH, which stands for ethanol.
All right. And that, of course, ethanol is the shorthand, or ETOH is the shorthand for alcohol.
Right.
All right. So on this particular form, Bruce Liverpool with 17 years of experience being in the back of the ambulance dealing with Lana Clarkson was indicating to the hospital that there was no alcohol involved, correct?
Correct.
All right. Secondarily, take a look at what's been previously marked as defense quadruple E. And I just want to bring your attention down to what Mr. Rosen asked you about a little bit earlier. The lower left-hand corner, there is in fact a pre-marked box for alcohol, correct?
Correct.
And you had worked with this particular type of form in the past in your 13 months of experience, correct?
Yes.
And you had seen Bruce Liverpool work with this particular type of form in his experience as well, is that right?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, every time you pick up a patient, this kind of form is, to a certain degree, filled out, correct?
Correct.
And it's important, as I indicated before, to fill it out accurately, correct?
Correct.
To take copious notes about what you observe and what you're told by people around at that particular scene, correct?
That's correct.
And to make sure that you get as much accurate information to the caregivers as possible so they don't screw anything up, correct?
That's correct. I'd just like to say that just because boxes are checked doesn't mean anything as well. That's why we have quality improvement with my department where we're constantly getting in trouble for not filling out the forms correctly.
And Mr. Stark, you explained that to Mr. Rosen. My question simply is this. As you're looking at this document here, did Bruce Liverpool fill out the box or check the box indicating that he noticed alcohol was involved in this incident?
No, he did not.
Okay, and he relayed that exact same information to the hospital, correct?
To the base nurse, yes.
With the zero or no ETOH, correct?
Correct.
You've handled, in the 7 years since then, you have handled how many call-outs?
A lot. I work in Battalion 13 now in South LA.
Pretty busy battalion.
The busiest battalion in the city.
Okay, so probably not even hundreds, probably thousands of call-outs.
Yes, sir.
All right. One of the reasons why, and you alluded to this in your direct examination by Mr. Rosen, one of the reasons why these forms are so important is because thousands upon thousands sometimes of call-outs will start to, your memory is going to fade. I mean, at some point, our brains just fill up, correct? I mean, it's nice to have notes.
Yes, we have that as well as we have the F2 journal that we fill out after every response as well.
Okay, and that again is to relate or memorialize, I should say, information from a particular call-out or a particular incident so that you can refresh your recollection with it.
Yes, sir, because the 902 is it's a court legal binding document as well. It's a record, but we also want our other records in the station so that if the DA or anybody else ever calls for information, we get the permission through arson to refer that to you.
Right, and of course, one of the hallmarks of having a particular document like this is that you guys are trained to fill it out accurately so these documents can be relied on, for instance, in a court of law like we're in right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You indicated that Ms. Clarkson was alert and oriented, ×4, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You also indicated that she was on a gurney and not walking around, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you didn't have a chance to observe her gait. Gait meaning how she walks.
We had a walker to the gurney.
Okay.
That was it.
How far was the gurney from where you walked?
We got it up close to her.
Okay. And so if the gurney is as close as the cart is to me, maybe if I'm seated on the floor, is that yes?
Yeah, no, correct. Yeah.
4 or 5 feet?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming with a couple of bilateral fractures and that kind of devastating injury, you nice gentlemen were helping her as much as
Oh,
possible.
yes.
Right. Help her up so she doesn't stumble or fall based on any shock or anything like that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Takes a couple of steps and now she's on the gurney and she doesn't walk again until she's at the hospital at some point, correct?
Correct. Well, when we get her to the hospital, we're just going to sheet her over.
Okay, sheet her over.
Both myself and my partner grab one side of the sides of the gurney, and then we lift the patient across so that we don't walk anybody anymore.
Right, okay. And you didn't walk her?
No.
Okay. So you didn't have an opportunity to see her gait
No.
to any significant degree, correct?
No.
Do you know what nystagmus test is?
Yes.
You didn't give her a nystagmus test.
No.
You didn't give her any FSTs or field sobriety tests, for instance.
No.
So, but you did indicate that you smelled alcohol, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is a Christmas party, right?
Yes, sir.
Not unusual at a Christmas party to have maybe a glass of champagne or some alcohol around the party, correct?
Correct.
All right. So that was not necessarily an unusual circumstance, is that right?
No, sir.
I mean, it might have stood out in your mind a little bit more, Mr. Stark, if, for instance, you were called out to a nunnery and you smelled alcohol. That might stick out in your mind. But at a Christmas party, no big deal, right?
No.
All right. And of course, I'm assuming, Mr. Stark, I probably shouldn't assume, but I'm going to for this question. You had a beer or two in your life?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you first drink a beer and you set it down, you might smell a little bit more strongly like alcohol than, for instance, if you had a beer and you set it down and you wait an hour. You might not have that odor. In other words, recency can emit the odor of alcohol more strongly, correct?
Correct.
And you have no idea if Ms. Clarkson maybe had a glass of champagne just before you arrived or just before she fell and broke her wrists.
Correct.
Okay. You indicated that one of the reasons why you believed that she was under the influence, you used two different phrases, under the influence and
How's she going to hold a glass with a broken wrist?
inebriated. I'll talk to you for a second about that. One of the reasons that you believed that she was under the influence was because you smelled a little alcohol, correct?
Correct.
One of the reasons that you believed she was under the influence is because you heard that her speech was a little slurred, correct?
Correct.
Right. You indicated that she had suffered such an extreme injury that she was crying, almost sobbing about the pain that she was in, correct?
Yes, sir.
As she was answering your questions, Mr. Stark, she was still crying, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had never had any contact with Ms. Clarkson before this particular night on December 24th, the late hours of December 24th, 2001. Is that right?
That's correct.
You don't know what her normal speech pattern was, correct?
Correct.
You didn't know if she talked like me or if she spoke really slow like I'm doing now, or if she spoke really fast like I am now, correct?
Correct.
All right. So there was no speech pattern that you had to relate Ms. Clarkson's, I'm going to use the word speech pattern again. There was nothing that you had to relate Ms. Clarkson's speech pattern to. In other words, nothing to compare it to, correct?
Correct.
And on top of that, for the whole time that you were treating her just to push the IV, ask her about the information you needed to ask her about concerning the numbness and feeling in her fingers and things like that, that was through tears, correct?
Correct.
She was crying the whole time.
Yes.
I mean, her wrists weren't fixed when you got there, correct?
Correct.
And you weren't able to fix them right there and get her out of her pain.
No.
So the whole conversation that you had with her, she was sobbing and crying and extraordinarily upset, correct?
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, when you suffer an injury like that, it's not abnormal if it's that bad and you can look down and see your wrist is deformed and stuff, to go into a bit of shock, correct?
Yes, you can.
All right, and that, I'm not saying that she was catatonic, Mr. Stark, obviously she wasn't, but certainly she could have undergone a sense of, or a little bit of shock from what she felt like was devastating injuries to her wrists, being cognizant enough to see her own wrists being deformed, correct?
A compound and also cause for speculation.
On the latter ground, sustained.
You've seen patients that undergo a bit of shock based on extreme injuries and extreme pain, correct?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, that's sort of a natural body function, Mr. Stark.
Yes. If I just may also.
That's all I have.
Okay.
That's all I have.
The question has been answered.
Okay.
With regard to the, this is just one kind of last point. With regard to the dosage or the milligrams that were given of MS of morphine, you indicated on direct examination, I want to make sure that I'm clear about this. She was given 4, 4, and 2, which is a total of 10, kind of progressively, correct?
Correct.
In other words, one after another. You don't want to just jam 10 milligrams of morphine in someone's IV, correct?
Correct. The dose is 2 to 10 IV push to a max of 20.
Okay.
You have to titrate.
And the whole time Bruce was doing this, Bruce Liverpool was doing this, not you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you found no problem in your review of the medical records that she received 10 milligrams, that's sort of a normal proper dosage to try and get her some relief from those extraordinary injuries, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, you're right. Thank you.
Okay, I think this is a good place to stop because we're not going to get through the redirect. So, let's go ahead and stop there and head over to Karen Reed, and we will talk about the new motions that just ticked me off. So, I will see you guys over there if you are going to watch Karen Reed. If not, I will see you again in the morning for more Phil Spector. So, have a good day. Bye.